Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to Art 196, which is an introduction to designing web graphics. This recording is for the fall term 2021. It will be very similar to the last few that I've recorded. So if you want to look at those recordings, you're welcome to do so. You're not required to be at the webinars. I will use them this semester mostly to assist you if you're having any issues with the lessons that we're working on or the websites that you're designing. So what I want to do today is give you a tour of my website and Canvas to show you where things are and to let you know what's expected of you this semester. And we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and get started now. So I'm recording, and what I want to do is I'm at my website, which is at kmart66.com. This is my own personal website. I have a blog here. I have ancillary websites, but more importantly, what will be of interest to you is at the top where it says Kirks Classes. Okay, so if we go to Kirks Classes here, it takes us really to an ancillary group of pages that display samples of work from my other classes. It gives you information about where, if I were at Cerritos, where my office would be, and my office hours and that sort of thing. But because we're all online, this is sort of meaningless right now, except for the samples of student work. Okay, where you will spend most of your time is, I presume those of you who are here understand that you need to go to where it says weekly syllabi. Okay, and you scroll down to the bottom, okay, where we have Art 196. So this is web design with Dreamweaver. What you want to do is I offer webinars at 10 o'clock for this class, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, and I will show you each day what we will be doing. So rather than start with Dreamweaver or designing a website itself, what I want to do this week is first orient you to the class. And then on Thursday, I already have recordings available, but I can do this again, is to introduce actually something from Photoshop that shows you how to optimize images for the web, which is very different than if you've worked in Illustrator or Photoshop or anything else. And I found that in the past that this is a good way to start the class. But anyway, point being that this is where you will find your information. What the assignment is, you're supposed to purchase the textbook and materials today. And then Thursday, you'll begin to optimize the image for the web. And then you'll post that on our shared Google Drive folder. And I'll give you a grade for it, and then so on and so forth. I'm using an older version of the textbook, and it's not that I'm avoiding the new versions. It's just that I found that the 2017 version is the best that they've done to date. It gives us a pretty good introduction to using Dreamweaver, number one, but more importantly, it gives us a strong foundation for using HTML and CSS. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which is basically the code that's used for constructing web pages. And CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. So when you want to style your pages and make them graphically rich, you need to use CSS to override the default settings for HTML. It was introduced several years ago, maybe 5-7 years ago. But it's become a bit more sophisticated, and the newer versions of Dreamweaver Classroom in a Book that are available show you how you can go directly from Photoshop to designing a web page in Dreamweaver, but it kind of overlooks the foundation of HTML. We're using HTML5 and CSS3, by the way. And so I found that a little bit unsettling. Also, the newer websites that they create and the more recent textbooks are not, what's the term that I want to use? They're not scalable. So, and that's not the word that I want, but they are, if we look at my website, for example, the one that we're looking at right here, they need to be, the term that I'm thinking of is responsive. There we go, responsive website. And generally that it requires that you create your website in such a way that you use Bootstrap. Bootstrap was created by the people who did Twitter some time ago to make your websites work not only on large screens, but on tablets and on your phone. And that's what's important, I found these days, is that if your website is not a responsive website and doesn't work on multiple size screens, then it's really kind of pointless, because most people these days, at least to some extent, use their view websites on their phones, on their smartphones. So as I resize this, you can see that it shrinks down a little bit. And when I get to a certain point, you'll notice that the navigation went away, the traditional navigation, and we see the little tab at the top, okay, a little with a hamburger symbol. And when I click here, this is where the navigation is, okay. And when I click here, it goes away, and you can see that how everything has been resized and scaled and formatted to fit the smallest format. And so what the 2017 edition of the textbook does is that we create a website that is, go through the lessons, and it ends up creating a website, a very robust and complex website. It's a personal website, but one that is responsive. So that's why I'm using that. Okay. Now, if you want to get access to the textbook, I have a link here. It says Adobe Dreamweaver CC 2017 Classroom in a Book by Jim Mybold. And here's the ISBN number. And if you click on the link, it will take you to Amazon. And you can see that it says, one left in stock, but if you select the Kindle version, that should be available for everybody for 35 bucks, okay? Now, you will not have access to the lessons. You will have to go to Peach Pit Press to get those lessons, but instead what I have done, let me go ahead and close this, is I have made them available for you. And I'll come back to this in a minute, but when we go to our shared Google Drive folder, okay, and the folder that you will be using, these are all my shared folders, will be Art 196 Fall 2021. When you click there, you will see that there's a folder that says Dreamweaver CC 2017 lesson files. So when you do double click there, here are all of the folders and lessons that you'll need. Now, if they've been corrupted anyway, I will download them and restore them to their original condition. But that's what we will be using, okay? Okie doke. So what you're going to need for the class, you need the textbook. That's important. You also need access to Dreamweaver and Photoshop. Since this is a graphic design class and we want our websites to be graphically rich, you are going to want to add images of some kind to your website, and that will require Photoshop. Now, you don't have to know Photoshop for this class, but you will learn in the first assignment just enough to get by. Okay, if you do have experience with Photoshop, so much the better. Okay, so the helpful links that I have up here to the left are also on the handouts page. Okay, and if we go down here to the bottom, optimize for the web, Wix website, Mobirise website, Dreamweaver website. These are the 4 projects that we'll be doing that I will talk about a bit later, in addition to the lessons in the book. But if we go to helpful links at the top, I'm going to go back to weekly syllabi, which is really just a duplicate of this. If you want to go to Adobe's website, you can click here. What I want to talk about, though, is if you haven't purchased or subscribed to Adobe yet, CollegeBuysorg really will give you the best buy for that. I'm going to go ahead and click on this link, and it will take us to CollegeBuysorg. It's the Foundation for California Community Colleges is what supports it. And if we scroll down here, you'll see that you want to shop now. You can either shop for students, for faculty and staff, and for colleges. Well, since you are a student, we'll go ahead and we'll click here. And they want to know what state. Well, California is the only other one that we can use. So we'll click and we'll submit that. And then it gives us a list of hardware and software that we can get, where you can get student discounts, and I can get faculty discounts if I wish. The one that we're interested in is Make It with Creative Cloud, which is the 3rd one over top row. Okay, so when I click on that, it will take me to a semester or an annual license for the Adobe software. It's $40 for 1 semester for 6 months. If you plan on taking additional classes at Cerritos or elsewhere, or using the software while you are a student, I would encourage you to spend the $80 for an annual license. And then they will require, says if you don't have an edu email, don't worry, click the order here. So you do have to jump through a few hoops in order to get access to this, because you do have to prove that you are a student. Okay, so that's collegebuys.org. That's important. Close that, and I should have just gone back. Let's go back here. There we go. So that's the one that's important, CollegeBuys. Creation Engine is another source for software and hardware. JourneyEd is another one, and so is NovEdge. But for our class, for Adobe, you'll probably get the best prices here. You may want to check out Adobe's website. They may have restructured their pricing and made it something a little bit more reasonable for students rather than a monthly fee. But this I know is a good go-to source. You'll also notice down to the left here under Web Tools, we will be using a bunch of these later. 00 Web Host, I really don't use much anymore, but instead we use Infinity Free as a host for some of your websites. And there's some other useful websites like ColleBlender. So for people with color blindness, it allows you to check your images and to see what they're going to look like with for people with different kinds of color blindness. If you want to create a favicon for your website, those are these little icons that are up here in the tabs, which we will do at the very end of the semester. This will give you a link to generate one of those. If you use Firefox, there are Firefox add-ons. Infinity Free, as I just mentioned, is the source that we use as a free web host. Juicy Studio is useful as well. It enables you to put in the hexadecimal numbers for the background and the foreground color, which is the color that you're using for your text, to make sure that there's adequate contrast so that people with sight who are seeing impaired, or even if they're not, can see your text adequately, and then it's visible. We will also be using a program called MobiRise to create. This will be one of your websites that you will be creating. It's kind of an intuitive program that enables you to create websites very easily by kind of click and drag. It's kind of a WYSIWYG approach. What you see is what you get. There's the W3C, which gives you all the background and the standards for web graphics or websites. We will also be using Wix.com. If you have another free source, you can do that. But what they'll allow you to do is to create for free. And this will be a little bit different than the other two. MobiRise and Dreamweaver, you create your websites locally, okay, on your computer, and then you upload them to a server. With Wix, it's an online service that allows you to generate your website. So that is what we're going to do. So what you're looking at right now is one that was where I used a foundation or a basic template that was Bootstrap, and then I added my own goodies to it. But if we look at the next one over here, which looks very similar, it's a very simple website, but it's one that you will create. It was an online one, website builder with Wix, and it's free. Now, the downside to using free is that you have this little ad up here at the very top. But if I click on About, a little bit about me, and then if I click on Contact, you can see that, information to be in touch with me, and I can go back home and you can see a little slideshow of some of my own personal work. Okay, so there we go. So that will be one. Then the next one after that, we will use, as I mentioned, MobiRise. It's very similar, but you will be creating your website locally. MobiRise is free. And you'll have some basic features that are that you're allowed to use for the free version. And as you can see, I have something that's very similar. It's a one-page website, and it enables you to click and to scroll up and down, and we can create a very basic website this way as well. So that will be the second website that you create, and then the third one after we complete about 10 or 11 lessons in the textbook, you will create a website in Dreamweaver and then use Infinity Free probably to publish it. And you'll use Infinity Free to publish the one that you create in MobiRise. Okay, the Wix one is automatically online and generated. The only downside to some of these is that the names that you are assigned to them, the URL, doesn't really roll off the tip of your tongue. So it's something that you'll have to keep in mind. So that's what we'll be doing. I'm going to go back to my website here. And we've gone over that about the textbook and the lessons. The lessons we will be doing, as I said, lessons 1 through 11 or 12. The first couple of them of lessons are really for more background information for about HTML and CSS and basic properties in constructing websites and that sort of thing. But when we get to about lesson 4, we really start to build the basic structure of a website, the framework, again, using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap to do that. And then as we complete the lessons, after actually you complete lesson 7, I will show you, and I have that in the videos, how to publish that. And you'll send me a link to that. And then I will grade, if it functions, then you get full 10 points for those lessons 1 through 7. And then after you complete lesson 11 or 12, you will publish that, which adds more features and properties to the lessons that we've done. And then you will get credit for that. So there's a total of 5 basic assignments that you'll have. You have 3 websites, one done on Wix, one done in MobiRise, and one done in Dreamweaver. You'll have lessons to do from the textbook 1 through 12 or 1 through 11. We'll see how much time we have. And then when you publish those in 2 parts, those will be graded as well. So each one is worth a total of 20 points. So it's a total of 100 points for those. Okay. Now, if you want to see where those are, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring up what I have here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to Art 196. So right now I'm in Canvas. And if you want to get a basic outline or understanding of the grades and the projects that we'll be doing, we can either go to grades, but no one's turned anything in yet. So I need to go to, where is it? I can't see. Oh, come on. Not modules. I'll come to that in a minute. Files, pages, assignments. There we go, right there. And you can see this is where they're listed here. The first assignment will be to optimize an image for the web. That's worth 10 points. From there on out, though, the Wix website, which will be due probably, in a few, 3-4 weeks. These are spread out throughout the semester. That's worth 20 points. MobiRise website is worth 20 points. The Dreamweaver website, which will be due at the end of the semester, is worth 20 points. And then lessons, as I just mentioned, 1 through 7 will be worth 20 points. And lessons 8 through 12 will be worth 20 points. You get an extra 5 points if you attend the webinars from time to time. Okay. Now, where you will find, when they're due, will be on my website in This Week in Class. You'll also, as I post the due dates, they will be available here. They will show up here as well. And also, for grade time, they will show up there as well. What you also probably want to look at are modules. And this gives us modules, I think of as kind of a working syllabus that today is, you should have already watched the orientation video. I already have from a previous semester, lecture 1 video recorded. And then on Thursday, here is the assignment for optimize images for the web. So if you click on this link, it will take you to the handout page. And then we have lesson 2 or lecture 2, a video on that, and lecture 19. So these cover various, I know that jumping around a little bit, but duplicates a little bit, but it covers how to work in Photoshop, how to download an image from the internet and save it properly for the web. Make sure that it's the proper resolution, the proper file size and everything. And then we get into HTML basics, lectures. Again, there's really no homework there. We get into CSS basics, that will be lecture 4. And that is lesson 3. And we really won't be starting to design a basic website until we get to lesson 4. And that's where when you'll start the Wix website. So you won't have to start that for a few weeks. Okay, so everything should be here. And the other place that you will find it too is if I go to, let me go back to my personal website. So let's move this out of the way. And let me go ahead and I'm going to go to Kirks Classes. And I'm going to go to video tutorials. And if I click here, it will take us to my playlists. And you can see that this is, it goes in the order that they were created. So I have one video available that I created yesterday for my Photoshop class, and one available orientation video for my 3D modeling class. Last summer, I taught Illustrator, and we have, then it goes back to the spring. So you'll see here, we have Art 196, Spring 2021, and you'll also see Art 196, Introduction to Web Design, and this was from the fall of 2020. So you can look at either one of these and have, if we click on these, you should have access to all of them. So, good morning, everybody. There we go. So here we go. That was lecture 30, but if we scroll all the way down, I guess I should probably invert the order here. I don't want to shuffle the playlist. I don't want to loop the playlist. I want it to be change the order of it. So go all the way down to the first one here. So here's the introductory one. Same as what I'm telling you right now. So last semester it was only maybe 30 minutes long, getting pretty close to that now. Here's the lecture on optimizing images for the web to show you how to do that. The next one on HTML basics, and so on and so forth. Okay. So if you're taking any of my other classes, the same will be true, that if you want to find the playlists that I have for those classes, they will be here on my YouTube page, or my YouTube channel, I guess you want to call it. Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll close that, and we'll come back again. Let's see, if you're curious, I don't know. This is a little bit about me. If you want to know my background, I've been at Cerritos now. This is my start of my 34th year, and probably my last year at Cerritos. If you want to know a little bit more about me and the artwork that I make, and my education and that sort of thing, you can go to my About page. If you want to see samples of my artwork, you can look at my resume. You can go here. You can also look at, I have 2 portfolios here. And if you're wondering why Kmart, how that came to be, I have a page for that, the genesis of Kmart. I adopted that a long, long time ago. Also, I have this during the early stages of being sequestered during COVID-19. I generated using my 3D modeling program, Lightwave, I created a virtual gallery of my artwork that I displayed in the faculty show this last winter. So this is the kind of artwork that I'm interested in doing. And it's helpful that I know something about HTML and CSS and how to make basic web pages to be able to display it. So really, what you will be doing for the class is sort of a pared down version of this for your final project. I have probably dozens of pages on my website for not only my personal work, but for the classes that I teach. You'll probably have to have a website that has maybe 4 pages or 4 parts. You'll have your splash page. So if I come back to the home page, this is what I call your splash page. It's to grab the viewer's attention. That's the most important thing. So I start with a big image and links to other pages. If we scroll down, you can see some samples of some of the other kinds of artwork that I make. I have an example of one of my more recent projects. And then at the bottom, if you want, you can link to social websites that you have, and this should be on every page. Okay, so that's generally my approach to a start page. And then after that, you'll have a little bit about yourself. If you are a photographer or you want to be a graphic designer or illustrator, artist, you may think in terms of creating an artist statement, a short biography about yourself. I know it's a little bit difficult to talk about yourself, but it's something when you start looking for work that you'll have to do. So you'll have a short bio for yourself. That will be the next page. And then later on this semester, we will be using another program that's made by the MobiRise people for creating slideshows. And it's called Wow Slider. And it's a very simple and effective way for creating slideshows. And so that's why I've chosen to use this. There are other ways of creating slideshows, but this one is a nice one. Okay, that's interactive. It enables the end user, the viewer, to slide through, your artwork. So you'll have a portfolio page. Now, something about the websites that you create, if you feel uncomfortable talking about yourself, or you don't know how to create a gallery for your, you don't have artwork that you want to do. I had a student not too many semesters ago that her family rescues dogs. And so she did an entire website about that, about her and her family, and some photos of the dogs that they have helped, and a way to contact her and her family and that sort of thing. So it's not restricted to this, a personal website, but I developed a class many years ago based on the fact that it was becoming more and more important that people, whether you're in the art world or not, develop some sort of basic website for yourself, so that when you're looking for work, people can have access to you and the work that you create, or your resume, or that sort of thing. And then when they want to know more, you can always create a hard copy for them in terms of a PDF file. But this pretty much is just a duplicate of what I would do in print. It would look a little bit different, but it's interactive, and it's something that I can change, and I do change very frequently. Okay. I have a question here. Do I have examples of previous classes' websites and see what they have created? Let me check real quick here. I'm not sure that I do. I probably do, but let me do that for Thursday. And I can show a couple from last semester. I would have to go to, let's see here. I have to go to here. And I think I may have already deleted them. I think I use mine is the basic examples. Let me see if I can find real quick. I'm going to pause the recording real quick. Not that they're necessarily the best examples, but the ones that I have made available here. For example, here's the Wix website. It's very basic. I have a slideshow from my splash page, but it could be a still image, and it could be one of just text. It could be one that has a video. It can be any number of things. And here's the about page. As I said, this is what you will need, the content that you'll need for yours. You don't have to have an artist statement, but a little bit about yourself. And if you want to include a photograph of yourself, you can, or an illustration or a photograph that you've done, and then a contact page. And that's basically it. So you have fundamentally 3 to 4 pages. Notice that I've taken my slideshow and wrapped it all up into my splash page. So that would be the first one that you do. And then the one here that we design in MobiRise, the version that I recommend, you could do this as separate pages, but oftentimes when you have minimal content for a website, it's advantageous to just to use one single page website. But what this does, in one of the later lessons, we'll learn how to create anchor tags so that you can click on a link. For example, if I click here on the About, notice that it takes me to a part of the page that I want to go to, similar to just going to a different page, but it's on the same page. And if I want to drop down to Contact Us, then it takes me down, it just scrolls down to another. And if I click back up to About Us or Portfolio, it takes me to another portion of the page. So again, using a different software, drag and drop, it's very intuitive. And I have, again, videos showing you how to do that. And I can show you again, if you guys show up. In addition to that, how to integrate images with it. And when you click on this, it pulls up into a slideshow, which is very nice. It's all really, really intuitive. And then you can close that off and we can click here. Again, have, to see nice slides of work. Okay, and then the last one that is probably the most difficult is the one that is similar to what I've done here. You'll create either, the way the textbook is written, it's a 3-column format, not a 2-column or a 1-column. But what you'll do is after you've done all the lessons, you'll use those lessons as a template. And you'll go back in and you'll create your own custom website based on that template, meaning whatever color scheme they've used, you're going to adopt your own by changing the cascading style sheet. You'll obviously change the content and use your own content instead of the one that's provided for you in the textbook or with the lessons. You'll also probably abbreviate it a little bit. Their website is about 5-6 pages long. Yours might be 3 or 4, and that's about it. But it's, taking what we've learned in the lessons and then applying it to something that you want to do. Rather than have to create the website again, all from scratch, you'll use the lessons that you've generated as templates to just copy paste, basically. But you do have to have an understanding of cascading style sheets and HTML to reimagine it and reformat it to suit your needs. It's pretty common these days for web designers, rather than to build every website from the ground up, to use a series of templates that they've created and then adapt them to specific clients' needs. As you see that, that's what I've really kind of done here. So that's, in a nutshell, what we'll be doing. They're basic websites, personal websites, and then if you want to learn more, then you'll have to probably take some classes and learning how to code and things like that. There are also some other useful websites, like one of the more sophisticated online web building websites is Squarespace. It costs a little bit more to use that. But if I knew nothing about web design, and I would use it. They have some really beautifully designed templates that are easy to use. It's something that you don't have the money to pay a designer to design a website for you or to maintain it. And that's also something that we'll talk about later. So yes, the question is, will we be doing that in Adobe Dreamweaver? Yes. We're going to build a website from the ground up in Dreamweaver. That's what lessons 1 through 12 are about. And I'm showing you other ways of building websites using online website builders and a more intuitive graphic interface with MobiRise as well. So you'll have kind of an overview of all the different ways of building websites. Okay. And I like my website because my artwork changes, I update it. And I'm updating it all the time. As my resume changes, I update it. You'll see that every week I update, my syllabi page, and it's something that's organic, it's ongoing, always changing. And when you do something in print, and I love doing things in print, once you print it, it's permanent. You can make changes, but then you have to print it again, and you still have the remnants of what you printed before. So yeah, it's very different. Okay. Well, if there aren't any more questions, I think that's it for today. I think I've covered everything. Oh, how do you gain access? Yes, thank you. I did forget something. So what I want you to do to gain access to our shared drive and files is I need you to email me at kirkmillerart@gmail.com. Okay. So let me go back up here. Let's look at my inbox. So, and in the subject of the email, you're going to put your name, Art1 and Art196. And then also you're going to put Google Drive or just Drive, Google Drive. What I will do today is after I receive the emails, I will invite you to the Google or shared Google Drive folder. And I do that by right-clicking on this and clicking on share. And then what I have to do is I put in your email address, and you should receive confirmation that you are now linked to it. Okay. You'll only need to really use that for the optimize images for the web assignment. The other assignments that we do, you will simply, once you publish them, you will, and they're available on the web, you will email me the link to those, and I will look at them and grade them and get them back to you. Okay, so that's what you need to do today to get access to this, is this shared folder, is you need to email me. And you don't need to put your email address or anything because that comes with the email. But in the subject of the email, you need to put your name, Art196, Google Drive. So I know who it belongs to, what class it's for, and what the email is about. And then today you will receive an email inviting you to join our shared Google Drive folder. And then you will have access to all of these lesson files. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, no, you don't drop your assignment. Well, no, the only one yes and no. The only assignment you will drop in the folder will be the images that you'll create for optimizing images for the web, and that's it. The other assignments, as I said, will be, you will email me the link to the published site that you have created. And then just as I'm clicking on a link to my own personal website, I should be able to see yours and see if it functions properly. And this class requires, I'm not one of the most organized people, but it requires that you be pretty organized and methodical about your work. It doesn't take much to slip up and to make a mistake. And if I do see the mistake, I will notify you, and we can work together in these webinars to correct it and to fix it and to see how things go. And it generally works out pretty well. Okay. I find that all of you taking this class tend to be one of the most diligent of the students of the classes that I have. Well, that, yeah, we'll get to that. When you build your own, the question is, when do we make those websites? It will be later this semester, but you have to learn a little bit about web design first. And then how it shows up on the internet is that, and that's something that I have already recorded as well, is that you'll sign up for a free hosting account, like with infinityfree.net. It's a service that will host your website. And then once you have generated your pages on your computer, you will use FTP or their cPanel to upload those files to their server, and they will give you a URL, a name for your website. And then when you click on that URL, everybody in the world who has access to the internet and the web will be able to see your pages. Okay, so there's no money involved. The only money involved is the computer that you own, and to get a subscription to Adobe software. Okay, so I think we're good for today. If I've missed anything, let me know and come back Thursday and we'll cover it. Okay, so that's it. I think I've gotten everybody here and added them to the attendance for today. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, Stephen, I'm going to go ahead and I will, as soon as I stop the this webinar, I will go ahead and I will add you to the class. Okay. Yeah, the next Zoom call is Thursday at 10. Yeah, Tuesday and Thursday. Okie doke. Well, I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to say goodbye. Okay.